Hello everybody, welcome back. We are going to be going through all four high-set capitals today. One of them I can't show off physically, but I do have images from my court mates as reference, and we can kind of go through like the basic statistics, but I won't be able to show you my personal stats with that ship as like a fair comparison between all four. So, we're going to start here with the Cyan. Like I said, we're going to go through the Cyan Sea, Shanhai, Lucent Moon, and Telemachus. Um, and what I'm hoping to do here is give you an idea of what high-set capital ship might be best for you, or if you should even consider upgrading from one that you already have, um, or if it's even worth going into one of them. But I figure since you are here, you are already considering a high set capital, and you just don't really know where to start, or if it's worth it. Alright, so we're going to start here with the least expensive of the high set capitals. This is the Cyan. It is currently on the market. Let's see if we can find it here. Currently on the market for about 60 billion. This is about 5 or 10 billion more than the standard pricing of this ship. Recently there's been some updates that have brought the price of the Cyan Sea up, as well as they are no longer selling the Cyan Sea in a loot box on the market during events. So that also has contributed to it going up in price. But it is the cheapest of the high-set capitals. This is where the one ship that you would want to get into as your first high-set capital. Hello, Rizzy. How you doing today? Let's talk a little bit about the bonuses it gets. It has light fighters, so it gets access to the Light Fighter Siege modification application. That is a hangar modification that will buff its light fighters. It can fit command burst. It gets a 100% command burst effective range. It can fit a carrier command enhanced module. This is a specialty module for the Cyan and the Shanhai. It does get a 50% merit bonus for killing pirates. This is a very useful bonus if you are looking to level up your Concord or Empire faction rank, as well as the actual faction ranking. It also gets a bonus to its insurance claim price, which is actually quite nice. It gets a 20% reduction in the amount of IP that it takes to replace this carrier. So, like I said, it does use light fighters. Its first whole bonus is Advanced Light Fighter Operation, so you will need to get to Light Fighter Operation 4, and then you can start scaling into Advanced Light Fighter Operation. Hello Riley, how you doing today? Hello Jenner, welcome. So this will get a 50% bonus to light fighter damage, and a 25% bonus to its light fighter flight velocity. Both very good skills for a high set capital. The faster you can get to your target, the quicker you can apply damage, and the more damage you can do. So it's a very, very good full bonus on this ship. you'll notice here that it does get 3 fighter bays, 3 high slots, 5 mid slots, and 8 low slots with 3 rigs on each end. It does not include the hangar slot here, but it does also have a hangar slot for that light fighter siege modification. Right, its other whole bonus here is Advanced Carrier Command. This will give you a 5% shield boost per level, so that is 25%. 25% total shield boost, or shield amount. What is that? 20% shield command burst strength, 20% skirmish command burst strength. Very, very good as sort of like a fleet support ship. But it is definitely also capable of being a DPS ship with a decent amount of tank. Hello, Snoopy, welcome. Alright, it does have a unique feature. This is a feature that is applicable to all Concorde ships. Cyan C is a Concorde carrier. So, every level of Empire rank that you go up, you will gain an additional bonus to your stats that are listed here, up to, I believe it is 8 levels. I could be wrong, it could be 7 levels. It's something like that. It's 8 levels. So you can get 8 additional levels that will boost your stats here at 2.5% primary weapon damage per level. That is applied to both your turrets and your fighters. You get an additional 5% per level of your effective hit points. This is a unique trait as well. Instead of just outright buffing the amount of armor that you have or the amount of shield you have, it takes the end result of your standard effective HP and adds an additional 5% per level of this. So, when you would normally be at 1,000,000 EHP, you would be at like 1,050,000 or something like that. My math might be a little bit off on that 5% there, but it does scale quite a bit at 8 levels of Empire rank. You also get a 5% armor repair amount, which is not the best choice on a Cyan. You would prefer to do the shield boost amount, since that is kind of its best tank capability. This ship has a standard jump drive of 3.5 light years, but it does not get the Sun Chaser engine that we find on a few of the other high-sec capitals. Which is part of the reason why this ship is lowest on the totem pole, but also probably the best one to get into for your first capital ship. We don't really care too much about any of this basic info here. Most carriers are going to be quite slow, like this one. Warp speed is a standard 3 AU. Some of the high-sec capitals are actually 2.5 AU. We will get into that a little bit. Power grid is actually extremely good on this carrier. But once you start fitting a bunch of capital modules, you don't quite have enough power grid to put all of the capital modules that you would want. So you do have to play around with your fitting a little bit to make it work. And the biggest problem with the Cyan is its capacitor. It has the worst capacitor of pretty much any carrier and high-set carrier out there. You're going to find that you will run out of capacitor very quickly if you are running a little heavily on capacitor usage on your modules, such as like a shield booster and a couple of fighter fire controls. Those modules definitely suck a lot of capacitor from you. Alright, so this is the Cyan with my stats. I currently have, I think, the basic stats for this ship, but I don't have anything, like, extremely outstanding. I will show you an example of a Cyan in my corporation that is pretty much maxed as far as it can go, and you'll see it is very different compared to what I am looking at here. But this is a pretty good example of, like, an entry-level Cyan. Depending on your skills, you would start probably around, like, 3,000, 4,000 DPS without any modules active. But the average DPS of a Cyan is anywhere between 10,000 DPS cold up to about 15 or 16,000 cold, with some exceptional Cyans going much, much higher. This is a pretty well-rounded fit here. We have the capability of fitting standard capital weapons on here, but you can see the autocannons are taking up quite a bit of power grid. I am not skilled into the capital autocannons, but we're left with very little power grid to actually make this ship work. This is definitely the fit that I would go with, though. This is a shield booster, capital shield booster. We do have a Capital Republic Fleet Cap battery. Very good choice for saving power grid. You still get a really nice amount of capacitor out of this. So that will definitely help you. The Fighter Micro Warp Drive is a great choice. A lot of the fighters that Cyan will be using are kind of low on the flight velocity, so having one of these Fighter Micro Warp Drive guides will boost that flight velocity and help you cut down... Yes, I am, Jinner. Hello, Azim, how you doing today? That will cut down on some of the travel time of your fighters, and get them into combat range. 3 reds, great choice. You will pretty much tank just about anything. In high sec with 3 reds, with the exception of Sansha anomalies, which are extremely endgame. That would require a little bit of a different fit. I think in that case you would go 2 reds and a yellow, just to get that little bit extra electromagnetic and thermal resistance, which is what's needed for that kind of content. Thank you, Jenna. This will do just fine in laboratory missions, in the standard missions. You can do Sansha with a fleet with this ship. but this ship is not going to be expected to be the main tank in a Sansha encounter. So definitely be aware that this ship relies very heavily on its capacitor to save it. Once its capacitor runs out, it loses access to pretty much all of its modules. And that is what will kill it. It is also running 2 fighter fire control arrays. This is its damage bonus for the fighters. Very important modules. And you'll see once I pull out of here, I will show you the active stats that I have with this Cyan. And then we'll look at one that is pretty much fully maxed out, if I'm not mistaken. Right. We do have prototype satyrs, so these are the light fighters. The air superiority fighters, I should say. Furbolgs are the preferred option if you want to go full DPS, but the satyrs are really, really, really good for dealing with the fighters that we find in Sansha Anomalies. You can see here we're at 12,000 DPS with a full set of prototype Furbolgs. Light fighters will need 9 per tube, whereas the air superiority fighters, which are meant for smaller targets, are built for 12 per tube. You can see just how long it does take to swap these over. You don't want to have to be doing this that often when you're in the middle of combat. Right. In our low slots, we are running 3 Burst Aerator 1s. The reason we go with 3 Burst Aerator 1s, actually this is 2 Burst Aerator 1s and a Firepower boost, in this case. Both good options. I prefer 3 Burst Aerators versus the 2 with the 1 Firepower, which what this ship has. We get a huge amount of damage bonuses from all sorts of different sources, being our skills, being our ship bonuses, and so there are very few sources where you can boost the activation time. By having those 3 burst aerators, you will typically end up with a much higher DPS. In like 90% of scenarios, especially when it comes to a carrier. This ship does not have a hangar on it right now. The hangars you can fit on it are the fighter hangars. So we'll go to the market and have a look at those real quick. You'll find them under engineering rigs and hangar modifications. And it'll be all of these light fighter siege modifications here. The cheapest one on the market here is the light fighter siege modification 1, which will give you a 5% damage increase, 15% armor increase, 10% shield increase, 20% structure increase. It will reduce the time that it takes to put your fighters in the bay by 25%, and it will increase your fighter bay capacity. It is a very nice hangar to have, and it's not all that expensive when you consider it is 1/6 of the cost of your ship. The most expensive one here is the Light Fighter Siege Modification 4. extraordinary module for this ship, but you are going to pay a pretty penny for it. This will give you a 20% damage increase compared to the 5% of Hangar 1. 37.5% armor increase, 25% shield increase, 50% structure increase, the same fighter reload time, and 20,000 cubic meters of fighter bay. One of these on the market is going to run you about 40 billion ISK. This might be a little higher than normal, but it is definitely worth paying that price. You're paying about 2/3 the cost of your carrier itself to fit this on there. And you would be getting that 20% damage increase. Very nice. On a Cyan, typically the engineering rigs are going to be capacitor recharge times with maybe a single semiconductor instead of 3. Capacitor controls. So I would definitely consider changing out to 2 capacitor and 1 semiconductor, just to give that extra capacitor buffer. Right now, if we run absolutely every module, you have about 5 minutes, including the energy Nosferatu. If we unequip that, you drop down to about 4.5 minutes. Not the best option, but also not the worst. I like the stasis amplifier, but if you end up having the room, I would try to fit maybe a grapple on it. Or you could also go with a scrambler here. The scram will turn off the micro warp drive of any fighters that are flying around you, so that may be more beneficial than webbing a fighter. You do have access to the command burst. In this case, most people are going to run a shield command burst to help them with their shield amount and their shield resistance. It's just going to make this ship a little bit more tanky, and provide a little bit of benefit to your allies. You then have its specialized module. This module is one of 2 that you can put on Cyan. You have the choice of the decentralized command or the centralized command. Both of them have different bonuses. So we'll go through the decentralized first, since that's the one that is on here. It is going to consume 3,240 gigajoules of fuel, not capacitor, and it will have an activation time of 42 seconds with a reactivation delay of 30 seconds. You can get this to be an infinite cycle module, but you're going to have to buy the general unit for the reactivation time of the mothership command module, something or other, general unit, which will bring it to an infinite activation instead of a 30-second reactivation. It will lock you down when it is active, it gives you 15% to your shield resistance. It will take your command burst activation time and reduce it by 10%. Increase your fighter damage by 23.4%. It will buff your skirmish command burst, which most people don't use. It will increase the flight velocity of the Cyan by 15%, and it also increases your fighter flight velocity by 23.4%. So, a very good ship, very well fit overall. Let us have a look at what that looks like in space when those modules are active. Alright. So, with the standard modules active, that is our hardeners and our fighter fire controls, I am currently at 15,368 DPS, with about 3 million effective hit points. Most of that is in shield resistance, which is 72, 72, 79, and 83. Like I said, if you go into a Sansha anomaly, you may want to drop out the Micro Warp Drive Fighter Guide for a yellow. But if you have friends to support you, I don't recommend this ship trying to solo any of it, but it can once you get to a certain point. You would definitely want a yellow in here. Now, with the decentralized command active, remember we get all of those buffs, you're at 16,858. Your furbolgs are moving at 1,600 meters a second versus 1,900 of the air superiority fighters. So, pretty good on flight velocity, but once again, it is kind of limited. It is your entry-level Cyan. However, I do have an example of a Cyan with mostly maxed out stats, skill-wise. And let me find that here. Alright, and this is what a maxed out Cyan looks like. You can see we kind of drop out the shield booster to give us cap stability. This is a very, very high-end... Yes, those stats do include the rank bonus. This is a very, very end-game Cyan. You can see he has a lot more power grid available to him. He's running better fighters. We're also running, I think, C-type on everything, if I'm not mistaken. Actually, that one doesn't show up, but that, I believe, is before the update to that. But 29,000 DPS is quite a good number. I do know for a fact that this example Cyan that I'm showing is running infinite cycles. It does have a Hangar 4. So this is a premier example. I can't really see what that EHP is. Okay, it's about 2.8 million, so it might not have its, adaptive hardeners active or something here. But this is what is possible near the end of a Cyan's life. definitely pretty cool ship. Right, so let me go ahead and dock up. We'll talk a little bit about the centralized command, which is not
Docking request accepted.
here. Actually, I need to refer to that image because I don't remember if that one had the decentralized or the centralized on it. That looks like the centralized command. I can't tell very well. Anyways, let me see if I can pull that up here. Tactical modules. Right, so that is a decentralized command he has on there. The centralized command here will provide different bonuses. You'll see here it gives a 15% shield resistance. It will reduce your inertia modifier by 20%. It has a 10% command burst activation time reduction. 15% fighter damage. 10% shield command burst strength. Which is probably the one that should be on here. Is the centralized command. For that shield command burst, and a 40% mothership flight velocity. It's kind of a give and take which one you want. One provides bonuses to yourself mainly, whereas the other one provides a little bit better bonuses to your allies. I think the centralized command is the better choice, especially if you are running a shield command burst, though. You know what, just because, I'm gonna get one of these, and I am going to send that over with the ship. That way this person can have the option. Alright. So, the one ship that I don't have here to show off, which I need to check real quick. Yep, we're gonna show that one off. Is the Shanhai. So, unfortunately, I have no live stats to show you, but Shanghai is going to be about 20 to 30% better in all stats regarding comparison to the Cyan C. So let me flip that over here. There we are. So this is the Shanhai. We are in the Concord ship tree to show this off. It gets a few different roll bonuses here compared to the Cyan. The Shanhai gets a short-range jump drive reactivation delay reduction, a 25% reduction to an Exterminator Lance warm-up restart time, 150% Exterminator Lance damage, 100% Exterminator Lance optimal range, 25% Annihilator Lance warm-up and restart time. These are all referring to the Doomsday that is available to it. I do not know if the one that I will be showing off has it equipped. It can fit the Light Fighter Siege modifications like we showed off on the Cyan. It can fit the Carrier Command Enhanced module, that is the centralized and decentralized command module that we showed off on the Cyan. It gets the same 50% merit for killing pirates. That is your bonus to the merit that you get for Empire rank and Faction rank. It also gets that same 20% insurance claim price. And unfortunately, I don't think I have the IP replacement for a Shanhai to show off. It does get a couple different skills here for the ship, which are Advanced Light Fighter Operation, 12.5% to light fighter damage increase per level, which is much better than the 10% you get on the Cyan. It does get 5% to light fighter flight velocity, which I believe is actually worse, if I'm not mistaken. No, it's the same. Alright. You also get the same shield boost amount, shield command burst strength, skirmish command burst strength per level as the Cyan, and you are provided with the same rank bonuses as the Cyan. So, for the most part, the Shanhai is nearly identical to the Cyan, with some extra base bonuses to its basic hull stats. But it also gets that Sun Chaser engine. Sun Chaser engine is a capability that allows you to take this ship and jump it to any solar system within 3 light years and is not being disrupted by a Sino jammer or something like that. In high sec, this bonus is actually doubled, so you would get a 6 light year Sun Chaser range, which would allow you to jump to a lot more systems within that 6 light years. Something else to note is that Sansha incursions do act as a Sino jammer or Sun Chaser jammer, meaning that you cannot jump into those star systems with that, but you can jump just outside of them and get there quicker than almost anybody else. You'll notice here that the power grid is very much similar to the Cyan. Actually no, it's about 50% more than the Cyan, sorry. So, about 50% more power grid on the Shanhai compared to the Cyan. You've got the same capacitor amount. And yeah, it pretty much comes across as a slightly better Cyan. The biggest difference, like I said, is that Sun Chaser engine. And the capacitor. It is incredible to have those functionalities available to the Shanhai. Right, let me pull up a example Shanhai, because it's the only one in our corp that I can show off. I believe this is the one. Alright. So this is the Shanhai that is in our court. Fit the screen. There we go. Actually, let me stretch to fit screen. Ooh, that's a little bit weird. Whatever. There we go. Oh. It's gone again. Hold on a minute. There we go. Alright, so this Shanghai is pretty much maxed out to where it's gonna be. It does have an nano core. So these stats are a little bit buffed compared to what you would see on some ships. But it's a very good ship. It gets the same sort of fitting layout that the Cyan does. But you will note that it does have better capacitor, and the DPS is quite impressive compared to what the Cyan was putting out. This is absolutely, like, perfect for a Shanghai as a fit. I personally have quite a few videos of running my Shanghai without the shield booster. I just did not find a need to have it. Yes, this one does run 2 Nosferatus to keep that shield booster running. I completely dropped the Nosferatus and the shield booster on my fit, because I do not find the need for it. I do run that yellow shield booster, or yellow reactive, just like we see here. But a shield generator would be pretty good in that slot, or a capital cap battery would be good in that low slot. But all of them very good. So if you were looking to upgrade from a Cyan to a Shanhai, you're gonna pay quite the pretty penny for it. Remember, the Cyan was about 60 billion. This Shanghai is currently... Yeah, I did see it. Thank you, Snoopy. Is currently at 128 billion. Double the price. For about 20% better ship overall. I do find that the 50% extra capacitor and the Sun Chaser does make this ship worth maybe about 80 billion, 90 billion, 100 billion at the high end, but 129 billion is on the high end for this ship. I don't know that it is worth upgrading from a Cyan to a Shanghai. I think he would be better upgrading to one of our other 2 options. Alright, speaking of insurance points, let me go back to the Cyan real quick. So let me jump back to the Cyan real quick. And go to insurance here. You can see it's going to cost you $70,000 without the discount, or 31,000 with the discount. This number you see here does include the 20% reduction on the whole bonus, the roll bonus. So 31,000 IP is the replacement cost. The Shanhai sits somewhere around 45 to 58,000 insurance points. So you are taking quite the hit in order to move up into a Shanghai. Alright, let's have a look at our next ship that you would consider, and that is the Lucent Moon. The Lucent Moon is labeled as a Force Auxiliary because it starts as a Force Auxiliary, and it can be adapted to any number of fits that you would like. You can do shield, you can do armor, you can do fighters, you can do logi, you can do lightweight ships. Your choice is absolutely what the Lucent Moon encompasses. If you want to do it, the Lucent Moon will try to do it, and do it very well. Lucent Moon has been sort of the backbone of the Eve Echoes PvE community for the last, year and a half since its release. It is absolutely, the driving force of high-sec over the last year. Without competition at the time. Nowadays, we do have a little bit of competition, but it is still unrivaled when it comes to fitting it how you want to fit it. And we'll get into that just a little bit. We're going to look at the fit that this ship in particular has, and I'll also cover showing off a little bit of a logi fit. And I don't remember if we have any examples of a fighter fit, but we do have the option of fighters as well. So the Lucent Moon, with its bonuses, is it can fit command bursts. It has a 200% command burst effective range. It can operate super heavy logistics drones. This is for the Force Auxiliary portion of the Lucent Moon. It gets 60 seconds activation time to its Capital Emergency Hull Energizer. It gets a 50% shield extender and armor plate hit point bonus, and it can fit Capital Shield Field modules. Depending on how you choose to fit the Lucent Moon with its refactoring modules, it can actually have access to the Capital Shield Field module or the Capital Armor link module. So this ship is just absolutely incredible with how differently it can change and be fit. The first bonus here is Advanced Logistics Drones. It gives a drone shield boost amount. This is for your Logi drones healing somebody. It gets a 7.5% drone flight velocity and a 20-kilometer drone control range. These bonuses will not apply to fighters or lightweight ships. Only drones. It also has Advanced Force Auxiliary Skill Bonus, which is Remote Shield Booster Shield Boost amount, Shield Command Burst Strength, Skirmish Command Burst Strength, remote capacitor transmitter effective range, and remote capacitor transmitter transfer effect. Lucent Moon does also come with a Sun Chaser engine. This was added more recently, after Shanhai was introduced. For a while, it did not have access to Sun Chaser. But now that it has it, it makes it one of the quickest response ships that you can have in HiSec. It is incredibly tanky for a capital ship. That Force Auxiliary sort of labeling gives it more tank than I think any other capital ship in HiSec, and even most null-set capital ships do not have this much tank. Power grid, you can fit pretty much anything you want on this ship. If you want all capital modules, I'm pretty sure you can just fit all capital modules without limitations. The ship is incredible when it comes to its power grid and its capacitor. Its capacitor is more than Shanhai. Shanghai had 60,000 gigajoules of capacitor. So having 72,000 is just a huge amount. I'm gonna say that a lot about Lucent Moon. And that's because the thing is just absolutely massive. And it definitely reflects in its stats. Alright, let's go ahead and equip this Lucent Moon here. If I'm not mistaken, this Lucent Moon should have lightweight ships on it. It does. So this is a shield Lucent Moon, compared to an armor Lucent Moon. I think the better place to start here would actually be the refactoring modules. Because you won't really understand every variation of Lucent Moon until you learn about its hangar modules and its refactoring, or its tank modules and rigs. Right, so we'll start with that. Let's go to combat rigs and ship system modifications, defense systems refactoring, and these are the three choices for your tank on the Lucent Moon. If you go without any of these modules, or any of these rigs, you will have a pretty balanced shield and armor amount with similar resistances across the board. However, you can choose to reduce your armor amount and your ship mass, but increase your shield amount and increase your signature radius. This is a pretty good option. It's been what's carried the Lucent Moon through many, many, many trials. and has been the backbone of the Lucent Moon for a long time. In high sec, shield is typically the choice that capital ships will go with. However, as of recently, the meta has kind of started to really shift back toward the armor side of things. Nullsec has already been part of the armor meta, but Highsec has been kind of reliant on the shield meta. Since we don't go against players that often, NPCs typically won't do enough to deal with shield. But since Sansha incursions have been happening, armor has slowly taken over the meta. Alright, your second choice here is to force yourself into a armor meta. So with this one, you will increase your mass, increase your armor, reduce your shield amount, reduce your inertia modifier, making you a little bit faster to get to warp. You will lose 25% shield resistance across the board, but you will gain 25% armor resistance. You will be a little bit smaller to hit, and then you will also gain a little bit of your shield and armor reconstruction amount. Pretty much what it does is it adds that value in raw armor and shield, so very cool. This is definitely going to be important in the future. This is the way that the high-sec meta has been shifting toward, is the armor meta. So having this will kind of future-proof you for a while, and add a little bit more value to your ship as well, since people will pay a little bit more for this kind of a setup versus the shield setup at this point in time. But your third option is to set it up with armor and make it a armor repair force auxiliary. It starts as a shield force auxiliary. Keep that in mind. So this one, kind of the same as the other armor one, where you gain mass, you gain armor, you lose shield, you lose inertia modifier, you lose shield resistance, you gain armor resistance, you lose a little bit of signature radius, but it will disable your shield field module access, but it will turn on the armor link for you. You will also gain a little bit of shield, a little bit of armor. You'll gain 600% to your drone armor repair amount, and you will also gain 125% to remote armor repair amount. So it is definitely a really good module, and I think this is the better of the two armor. This is definitely the better of the two armor choices. But it does not mean that you have to go Logi with it. Alright, now let's look at the hangar options. So you've seen that you can choose shield, armor, or logi armor, or shield logi as your options. Now, let's look at the combat choices that you have that will also pair with those shield and armor choices. So, you have the choice to run drones with the stock ship. So you'll have logi drones and standard drones that you could run for combat without adding any hangar to it. If you add the fighter bay hangar refactoring, you will gain a flight velocity on your fighters by 15% and a fighter drone damage, or a fighter damage of 25%, but you lose one of your launch tubes. So you normally have 5 launch tubes. You go down to 4 fighter tubes. So this actually does have more fighter tubes than Cyan and Shanhai. So it is actually a DPS increase over those. This module is going to run you about 11 billion, which is actually pretty cheap. This will put you on par with like a Cyan with Hangar 3, Hangar 4, or a Shanhai with like Hangar 3. But the extra fighter bay that you have evens out the playing field across all of them with Hangar 4. So, fighter bay is a good choice if you wanted to stay with fighters. Say you started with the Cyan and you wanted to upgrade, you wanted that better capacitor, you wanted that better tank, you wanted the option to go shield or armor or logi fighters. This fighter module definitely will make the Lucent Moon a nice upgrade compared to the Cyan and the Shanhai. The second choice you get is the Lightweight Ship Hangar Refactoring 1. This one will allow the Lucent Moon to fit 4 destroyer bays of lightweight ships instead of having 4 fighter bays or 5 logi drones. So 4 destroyer bays with 15% flight velocity on those destroyers. You can also fit fighters in those destroyer bays. You also get a 37.5% to the damage of those destroyers. Like I said, this kind of puts you on par for damage and DPS with the fighter bay or a Cyan or Shanhai with the Hangar 4 modification on them. But destroyers have a unique feature where they can use webifiers to slow down their targets, so you do not need to equip a webifier or grappler onto your Lucent Moon. The destroyers will already have that built in. This is the way that the future of Eve Echo's high-sec combat is going. Lightweight ships are currently superior because of their webifying as well as their effective range, which means they are faster to get into combat, they have longer combat ranges, they do better damage and damage application than fighters will. So right now, 90% of players are kind of switching into this lightweight ship role and away from drones. This module will run you 50 billion to set up your Lucent Moon with lightweight ships. You will also have to completely reskill yourself out of fighters and skill into lightweight ships and team combat. So, now let's look at the cost of a Lucent Moon. Lucent Moon is currently about 40 billion, give or take, less than the Shanhai. So, for the same cost that you would pay for the Shanhai hull right now, you could buy a Lucent Moon and set it up with the lightweight ship hangar and also put yourself into shield or armor refactoring choices. And you would still beat the Shanghai with a hangar 4. Let me pull up. I don't think I looked at the defense prices, but 33 billion on the shield, 22 billion on the armor, and 39 billion. So you would be pretty much even with a Shanghai if you would put the Shanghai in the hangar 4 versus like the Lucent Moon with a lightweight ship hangar and a shield armor or Logi choice. What's nice right now is that we just got access to lightweight ship remote armor repair fighters. They are the lightweight ship Asteros, which can be used as Logi lightweight ships. So this armor system refactoring will actually help buff those lightweight Asteros just a little bit, I believe. So, very cool. So the ideal setup on a Lucent Moon right now for high sec is the Lucent Moon with lightweight ship combat refactoring and the remote armor system refactoring modification. This is the most ideal setup that you could have on a Lucent Moon. And, like I said, you can do it for the same price as a Shanhai plus a hangar 4. I think the Lucent Moon is a much better choice if you're looking to set it up a very specific way. Let's go ahead and look at our fittings here. This is a standard lightweight ship, Lucent Moon, prior to the armor meta. Pretty standard stats, capital micro warp drive. This thing does take 48 seconds to get to warp, so using the micro jump drive to get to warp faster is absolutely necessary. Shield extender for the extra raw shield amount. You can see 888,000 shield amount. Very nice. We are using the prototype general fire control systems. Something to note about lightweight ship fittings in general is right now the prices are spiking through the roof due to a recently released ship. Normally these are still about 3 billion, 4 billion, but on the market they're skyrocketing in price. Alright. This ship is running a bunch of A-type shield hardeners. Always a great choice. Jenner, can you confirm if this is your actual one with the 50,000 DPS for you? Is this yours? If I'm not mistaken. Anyways, it does run the Swarm Carrier Defense module. This is a module that boosts lightweight ships, so you're going to get that damage transfer, you're going to get the lightweight ship command range reduction from 600 kilometers down to 150 kilometers. You're going to have the ridiculous ship velocity, lightweight ship velocity increase. Quite a nice lightweight ship damage increase. Mothership shield resistance increase, armor increase, resistance, and a inertia modifier reduction. This module is paramount to the success of a lightweight ship, Lucent Moon. Shield Command Burst, giving that extra shield amount and shield ship resistance, or ship shield resistance, making it even more tanky. Absolutely a wonderful ship. Something unique about the Lucent Moon is even though we are fitted with the lightweight ships and shield, we can actually fit the Logi Support Tactical Module, which will give us a capacitor recharge time reduction of 30%, meaning that we don't have to use a Nosferatu, at all if we really don't want to. This one actually does have an on-there, because I believe this one can solo a Sancha main, completely AFK, with Jinner's skills. Jinner's skills are pretty much maxed out for the most part, and incredibly expensive on all of his general units and his modules. So this one is capable of soloing a Sancha main, whereas the Shanhai I showed off that was pretty close to max is capable of soloing a Sancha raid. It does need help with a Sancha main. So this ship can solo a Sancha main. You just have to have the right skills, and you will be alright in the end. Alright, so we also have here a Crucible Capital Shield Field module. This is that capital field module that will provide us with 23% ship shield resistance, a reduction in our damage output, a reduction in the shield booster amount, So we don't have a shield booster, we have a shield extender. Actually, I believe that's a shield generator, but we're using it as an extender. Overall, this ship is going to have a huge amount of tank, and also a really nice amount of DPS. Then you have the Nosferatus with the integrated lightweight allegiances with the integrated sky domes. Very nice choice here. Something to note about lightweight ships, I did talk a little bit about their application and the web of fires, so let's go through that a little bit here so you have an idea how different that is from fighters. Fighters are more similar to drones, but they have a kind of little bit worse explosion velocity and explosion radius on them. But lightweight ships require you to be skilled into fighters and destroyers, as well as the small weapon systems, in order to get bonuses to these ships. So in this case, these lightweight integrated allegiances are destroyers that use small torpedoes. Well, medium torpedoes, but it kind of gets the small torpedo skill bonus. It's really weird, but overall, you really just need the lightweight ship skills, the team combat skills, the destroyer skills, and the small weapon skills. In this case, we're using torpedoes, so we need the small missile skills. Alright, so this gets a explosion velocity of 132 meters a second and explosion radius of 198 meters. Then it has a web of fire that each of these allegiances will apply to its target with an activation time of 2 seconds, a velocity adjustment of 50.91. So you're applying a flight velocity reduction to your target of 50.91% per allegiance. There are 2 per tube, out to a range of 23 kilometers from the lightweight allegiance. Very powerful. Here we have the integrated sky domes. These are also a destroyer. Quickly, because I forgot, these allegiances, which, like I said, are destroyers, have a flight velocity of 2,381 meters a second without any bonuses applied to them, other than what is applied in the hangar. Very fast compared to fighters. Most fighters are not nearly this fast. Even some air superiority fighters are not this fast. Alright. Integrated sky domes. These have 1,950 meters a second with small missiles that they're using, optimal range of 27 kilometers. So immediately as you launch these things, you can start hitting targets out at 27 kilometers. Whereas like the allegiances, you've only got 18 kilometers from the tube. Now, as these ships fly around, they will apply damage consistently 27 kilometers from them, or 18 in the case of the allegiances. these have a different application. This one pretty much has perfect application with its 273 meters a second explosion velocity and a 23 meter explosion radius. 23 meters is almost 1/10 that of the lightweight integrated allegiances. So you're going to be always applying max damage, and these particular destroyers are going to apply damage much, much better to a small ship compared to the allegiances or compared to fighters and drones. They are far superior in that respect. They are going to apply a webifying amount of 41% per skydome. There are 2 in each tube, out to 21 kilometers from them. So you can see lightweight ships just are incredibly detailed things. It takes a lot to skill into them, but by skilling into them, you are also skilling into destroyers or frigates, because you can fit frigates into these. I don't have any to show here, but there are frigates available, and I will show those off for our next ship. But let me undock here. We'll see what the...
Undocking.
We'll see what the tank and DPS is of this ship. I am a little bit more skilled into lightweight ships now than I am fighters. So let's have a look. Right, 21,829 DPS. Very good. Under Jinner's command, he has 50,000 DPS. And with the Swarm module active, we go up to 25,906 DPS, which is very nice. You can see we do have that almost 6 million EHP on the shield. Very nice. We get more tank with the shield field module and the shield command burst. I don't think we can actually turn this on because we're near a sentry gun, but we're already at 7 million EHP, and with the Crucible shield field module, we'll be at 10 million EHP. Very, very, very tanky, and very capable. Almost at 1 million shield hit points, which is very cool.
Docking request accepted.
Now I need to have a look and see if I can pull up like a Logi. It was sent to me earlier, but I don't remember where that was. It might take me a minute to find here. Anybody know where it is? There it is. I got it now. Got it. Alright, so that is the wide Lucent Moon. This is a Logi, a shield Logi, where we pretty much just use it as a main tank in a showdown. We won't show everything off here because there are some trade secrets that we like to keep close to us in TMFG. But for those of us in TMFG, we know exactly how this thing is set up, and it works incredibly well. This is also the Lucent Moon that I showed off in when we were waiting to do the very first Sancha showdown ever completed on the server, where I invited a huge amount of people to come try to attack the first showdown and clear it. Since then, we can now clear the showdown with actually 2 players. So very cool. I hope to show that off in the near future, running with Jinner, 2 manning the Sancha showdown. We might be capable of soloing a Sancha showdown once we get a nanocore for the Telemachus, which is our next ship. But you can see here, Lucent Moon, Shield, Logi, incredibly powerful. Alright. Our next ship, I have 3 examples of for us to go through. So we're going to start with... I think we're going to start with the cheap one. We'll go to mine, and then we'll go to the really expensive one. I don't remember which one's which. Anyway. So, let me swap over to my other character, Tech 10 Day 1, who is currently flying my cheapest, Telemachus. This is the brand new high-sec Sisters of Eve ship, the Telemacus. Actually, I need to, grab something from that Lucent Moon and send it over anyway. So, hold on a minute. Jinner is the one that sent me this Lucent Moon. He was ever so gracious to send it. Along with the Cyan and this other Telemachus that I have in this hangar. Where's my module? I need to send it to the other character. Oh, good lord. When you have so many modules, you can't find anything. Here we go. Alright, so this ship, the Telemachus, I have done a review on, but I'll go over it briefly here. The Telemachus is an assault carrier So this will primarily use lightweight ships in frigate or destroyer form, similar to how we had that Lucent Moon set up with the lightweight ships. It is not as versatile as the Lucent Moon, however, it is almost more powerful. The only reason I say it is almost more powerful is because it does not have access to a nanocore or nanocore integration right now, and currently the Asteros that it would be using as Logi drones are currently bugged in HiSec, so it cannot heal itself, and it cannot heal others in HiSec with them right now. That should be fixed next update on Tuesday, as per the devs, but for now we're just going to go through this ship as it sits. We have 3 different variations to go through. All of them are going to be very similarly fit. This is more going to be a difference of price range, how much you want to actually put into the ships itself. Alright, Telemachus gets a bonus of 120 seconds to the Capital Emergency Hull Energizer activation time, a 50% Stasis Webifier resistance, a 25% Capacitor Warfare resistance, a +5 to Warp Stability, meaning somebody will have to apply 6 points of warp disruption to you in order to stop you from warping away. It has a 50% bonus to shield and armor plate extenders. It can fit a mothership defense module, that is that blue module the Lucent Moon was using in its lightweight ship form. It can be fitted with a capital Sino field generator, which means it can call other capital ships to itself, as a sort of help me. It can also help to move capital ships around in nullsec. And it can fit a capital armor link module. Very important module right now, since most people are moving toward an armor meta. So capital armor links will help you support them and yourself. Alright, we have a lightweight ship bonus per level of 12.5% lightweight ship damage, 12.5% lightweight ship EHP, and 20% lightweight ship armor repair per level. Like I said, with this Telemachus, it is supposed to be having the option to use the Asteros in the HiSec. However, currently that is bugged. And that bonus of 20% lightweight ship armor repair goes a long way on those. On its advanced carrier command, you have a 4% armor resistance per level, 20 kilometer lightweight ship command range, and 20% group armor repair effective range per level. This ship initially comes across as a weird, combination of Logi and DPS. So a lot of people are kind of confused on how to fit it. So hopefully we'll be able to clear up that sort of confusion here. And maybe we'll convince you to join the Telemachus Club, because this thing is awesome. It is the direct competitor to the Lucent Moon. In some areas it is better, in other areas it is worse. In this case, the Lucent Moon has more variety of options that it can fit for and fit to, and set up with, whereas the Telemachus is locked into lightweight ships and armor, but it does have an incredible capability to heal its allies and keep them alive. The Telemachus does not get a Sun Chaser engine compared to the Shanhai and the Lucent Moon. Both of those get Sun Chaser. So everywhere it goes, it has to go through a gate or through somebody with a Sino field generator. But this thing, I don't think really needs the Sun Chaser, although it would be incredibly nice. Overall defense here is actually more than the Lucent Moon at 149,000 more overall defense than you would find on the Lucent Moon. It has a very similar power grid at 680,000 megawatts of power grid. The Lucent Moon having 670,000 power grid. So both of these ships can fit a huge amount of capital modules at their leisure. Capacitor, also really good, like the Lucent Moon, where it has that 72,000 gigajoules of capacitor. So it does not have the same capacitor worries as the Shanhai and the Cyan, but very well matches with the Lucent Moon. Has a very nice fuel capacity, same as all capital ships. Cargo hold is actually 1,000 more than the Lucent Moon, and 2,000 more than the Shanhai and the Cyan. Alright, you'll note that this ship does not have any high slots. Compared to the Lucent Moon and the Shanhai and the Cyan, all three of those ships have access to combat high slots, but it does trade those high slots for an extra lightweight ship hangar bay with its hangar. So although it cannot use any high slots, it still performs excellently. Alright, so this, like I said, is the cheap Telemachus of the three that I will be showing off. This one is utilizing the Capital Emergency Hull Energizer. 180 seconds of activation time is super nice. Normally, I believe this is just 60 seconds, but with the 120-second increase here, you get 3 minutes that this module will try to keep you alive if you enter hull. Once you activate this module, it is destroyed. So do not activate it accidentally, and try your best not to be put into hull, because this module does destroy itself after it's activated. Right, we are mostly using this module as a passive damage control that provides 20% to armor damage resistance passively, which is very nice. This is actually more resistance than you would get. This is actually more resistance than you would get on any of the damage controls with a level 10 general unit for resistance increase passively, although the other damage controls that are available will outperform it for activation resistance, but none of them will last 3 minutes while you are in hole to try to save yourself. Alright, this one is using 3 C-type adaptive armor hardeners, a C-type reactive armor hardener, and 3 prototype general fire controls. These are the ones that provide a damage bonus, a tracking speed increase, and a explosion velocity increase with a explosion radius decrease, making the lightweight ships apply a little bit better. There's so much to go through here. You'll note here that we actually do not run a armor repairer on this ship. That is because we utilize the group armor repairers to heal ourselves. So normally, these group armor repairers, these are the capital group armor repairers. Do not try to run this ship with a large armor repairer or a medium or a small. Just don't. Fork up the money for the capital group armor repairers. They are significantly better than anything else on the market. So this one in particular is the cheap one. Cheap at 5 billion-ish. It will repair with my stats, which is 554 right now, for 9,125 every 30 seconds. This ship is primarily set up as sort of a lab runner slash support ship for Sancha. It will be a looter in Sancha anomalies and a lab runner in high-sec islands. That will be looting after it is done with the laboratory mission. So with this armor repair, we can keep ourselves alive at a decent amount for any standard encounters. And then for anything harder than laboratory missions, that would include Sancha, we would be relying on a secondary ship to keep it alive. So, while we are repairing ourselves, we do want to have our capital armor link active. Hello, Midnight. How you doing today? This armor link module will have a armor damage transfer of 57% from an ally in your squad to yourself. So if an ally in your squad is taking armor damage and this module is active, you will divert 57% of the damage that they're taking to yourself. It is very useful. Although if multiple of these armor link modules are active, that armor damage transfer amount is actually reduced by each ship that is using it. I do not know the exact values, but I do know that that armor damage transfer is reduced per ship that has one active. I assume it is the same reduction that modules typically have, which I think is like 93%, 72%, and like 40% or something like that. I don't know the exact values, but I think it's close to that when you stack modules. But anyway, while this module is active, you will provide yourself a 9.5% armor resistance increase. You will lock yourself in place. Any remote repair effect that comes in is provided a 69.73% repair increase. This does apply to the group armor repairer and the remote armor repairers. You will also apply a 27% reduction to your outgoing damage, and any armor repairer that you have on your ship, which is why we're not using it, will take a 27% damage repair, or armor repair reduction. So that is why we're not using an armor repairer, and why we are relying on a group armor repairer. Like I said, this specific ship is set up for labs and being a support ship for Sancha raids and mains and Sancha showdowns. It is not a primary tank. Alright, in the low slots here, we are running the frigates. Well, these are in the fighter slots, lightweight ship slots. Good lord, there's too much terminology here. In the lightweight ship slots, we are running the fighter lightweight succubus, not the destroyers. I found that if I was to go with a equivalent laser destroyer, I would have less DPS and a few other negative things compared to the lightweight succubus. So these lightweight succubus are much faster at 2,656 meters a second. We have 3 per tube. They are running small lasers, so that means we need frigate skills, we need afterburner skills, we need laser skills, small lasers. These will have an optimal range of 15.3 kilometers and an accuracy fall-off of 6.4 kilometers. 793 tracking speed is more than enough. They do have warp scramblers on each of these lightweight succubus. Yeah, it is just afterburner on the lightweight succubus, but the other lightweight frigates use micro warp drives. So these use a warp scrambler on here, so all 3 of these lightweight succubus per tube are applying 3 warp scramble strength. In total, that comes out to, I believe, 15 lightweight succubus with 3 warp scram on each. So that's like 45 warp scram strength on all of these lightweight succubus. So it is interesting. You can apply a huge amount of scram strength with these lightweight succubus. And they do have an optimal warp scram range of 13.6. Something to note that this is actually very useful against fighters, because fighters use the micro warp drive. Though they do not get micro warp drive bonuses from any skills. You can turn off fighter micro warp drives with the scramblers. On top of the scramblers, if it wasn't scary enough already, you have stasis webifiers. This is the only lightweight ship that has both scramblers and webifiers, which makes them uniquely powerful in their own regard. They have an incredible flight velocity adjustment of 55.4% per lightweight ship. Remember, that is 15 of these applying 55.4% webifying to the target that they want to go up against. So they are extremely uniquely adapted to completely destroying any sort of lightweight ship that has a warp scrambler or a warp drive as its propulsion, and any fighters and any drones. They are entirely anti-drone fighter lightweight ship. Extremely good at taking out smaller targets. They are also uniquely anti-frigate and anti-cruiser and anti-destroyer. Small ships, these things deal with incredibly. And because they don't have any sort of, explosion velocity, it means that as long as your lightweight ships are tracking, you will have damage. And with them being able to warp scram and webify, your targets are typically not getting away from these ships. Alright, so let us undock. We'll have a look at what that looks like.
Undocking.
And as we're doing that, we'll talk about the mobility of the ship. The mobility of the Telemachus is way more mobile than any other high-sec capital that we have ever had. So you'll see here, I have 18.63 seconds
Warp drive active.
warp prep time, which means I can move around very quickly and very effectively. Also, while we're here, I am running Burst Aerator 2s, Lightweight Ship Burst 2s, and a Assault Carrier Hangar 1, which will remove one of my mid-slots and add a Frigate Bay. A very important module. This is one of those modules that has gone through the roof. They had normally been about 9 billion, but as of this week, they have been going for about 40 billion. This is one of 4 variations of the hangar that you can get. Each one has some different stats, and we'll go through at least 3 of those as we're going through today. We are running an inertia modifier adjustment with 2 cargo hold bonuses, so we can get this thing looting and DPSing. Alright, so now that you've got an idea of the warp time, let me find something else to warp to. So you get an idea of just how quick this thing actually is. We do not need an afterburner or a micro warp drive to do a quick warp because it's fast enough already.
Warp drive active.
It is very, very impressive. We'll do it just one more time. And just remember, by the time that I have warped twice or 3 times, Lucent Moon would have only warped 1 time. Shanhai would have started its second warp, and Cyan would have only just landed and started its second jump as well. So, this ship is incredibly fast compared to any other high-sec capital that we have. The only downside to it is it does not get the Sun Chaser engine. Alright. So now that we're here, we'll have a look at the live stats on this particular ship. You'll see I have 16,000 DPS right now without the Swarm module active, and about 4 million EHP, 500,000, almost 600,000 of that is on the armor. We can go ahead and activate this group armor rep. We're only going to get 9,000 from the armor ref itself, and let's see if we can catch that real quick. You'll see it pop up somewhere about here, so just keep an eye on it, and you'll see the little 9,000 number pop up. It'll be a little green number. There you go, 9,125. And it makes this big old bubble. Right. So while we're waiting, we're going to activate our swarm. So I go up to 18,500 with 4.8 million HP. And then let's go ahead and activate the XL module. This is the one that gives us a 69.73% increase to our rep. So now we should see 15,487. 15,487. It is like activating a siege mode on a dreadnought. But this is a group armor rep. So I am receiving 15,000, and the guy across from me is receiving 9,000. If he is in my squad. But, if we both have XL armor links, we will both receive that 15,987. So not only is it important for this ship to have one of these capital armor links, it is also important for the ships around it to have XL armor links, just for the bonus that they would get from the repair. So that is why this ship is a support ship, relying on the salvagers to loot as the anomaly is going on. But it needs support from other ships in the harder content. Alright, let's go ahead and dock up, and we'll look at the next Telemachus that I have to show off. Now, this character is nowhere near maxed out on any of the lightweight ship skills, so that 18,000 number you see will eventually climb to about 34,000 with the frigates. Once I get a
Destiny
lot more
docking
skills.
request accepted.
Alright, let us swap over to the second Telemachus. Alright, so this is the second Telemachus. This is my personal main Telemachus. This is the one that I have been running and showing off on streams and videos on YouTube. I am absolutely in love with it. This is absolutely the way I would want to fit this ship, and I would not deviate too much further from this, other than... Yes, the first one was Cadet T10 Day 1's Telemachus. So that is the one that we did the first Telemachus I showed off is on a character we did our Tech 10 jump with immediately after creating the character. And he is now sitting in a Telemachus, scaling into lightweight ships. So if you wanted an update on T10 Day 1, he's there, he's in the background, just doing his thing. He will soon be helping me in Dormant Realms and with, Sancha content. Alright, so my main Telemachus is set up as a combination support and DPS. This is going to be a theme for all of these Telemachus. We want to be using our support modules, and we want to be set up to do DPS. Alright, so you'll see a very similar setup to the first Telemachus, but instead of being set up for looting, we're setting up for maximum repair amount. Alright, you'll see we have our hull energizer. We are running B-type adaptive hardeners and reactive hardener for the armor. We are running the more expensive Swarm General Fire Controls, which are currently sitting at about 29 billion for one of them. Expensive and not really worth the upgrade, but I did it anyway because I absolutely am in love with this Telemachus. So we have 3 of those. We are running lightweight Allegiance and 2 integrated Skydomes with a lightweight Manticore. You'll note that this is a different setup from the first one. The first one's using all frigates. What's going on here? Well, we have an Assault Hangar 3 instead of Assault Hangar 1. What this does for me is it removes a mid-slot, and it removes one of those frigate bay launch bays, but it gives me 2 destroyer bays, which means I can have 4 destroyer bays and 1 frigate bay. Very useful. It means I can really put out a lot of DPS toward, bigger ships, pretty much. We are also set up with the triple burst aerator 2s. Like I said, we get a lot of damage bonuses, but there are almost no activation time bonuses. On this ship, we have gone without the cargo hold, because this will be a primary tank ship. We will be going with a capacitor control, a inertia modifier, and a capacitor recharge time. This character, my main character, does not have as good of carrier command skills, so I'm still working on getting that warp prep down. But it does have just enough to get me around. Um, we are also running Repairman Capital Group Armor Repairs. These are not really on the market anymore. My whole corp seems to have bought every single one on the market. I am sorry. Our whole corp has bought like every one on the market. But yes, we are running two of these. We are running two of these and a prototype because I need to get one more of the repairmans. We are all running XL Capital Armor Link modules. These are all ones that we have built in-house. Because we have been running Sancha since day one, and we have gotten quite a few blueprints, but we are actually running out, so we need to do more. But this is a pretty standard fit for my corporation. Give or take the Looter, or a Nosferatu. Some people like to use the Nosferatu. We also have the Swarm Carrier Defense. That is not on the market as well, but people are willing to buy them for about 24 billion. So, very good. This ship can run... Yeah, this ship and fit, I am at 20,000 DPS cold. I do have much better skills than Tech 10 Day 1. But I am running generally a little bit above average fighters or lightweight ships. So we'll see where that goes. The only reason I have this lightweight Manticore here is because I don't really have any other lightweight frigates that I would want to use other than the Asteros. The Asteros are really nice, but we're waiting on some bug fixes. Right now, I have a remote armor repair on each of these Asteros at 2,000 every 4 seconds. So there are 3 Asteros per bay. I can fit 15 of these Asteros on this ship with all of my bays, which means I am able to put on a single person, if they don't have an XL repair module, of 30,000 rep every 4 seconds. If we multiply that by a XL armor link module, we are putting 49,500 armor repair every 4 seconds onto either myself, if I really need to tank, or onto another player if I need to help them. With just full Asteros. If I only want to run one flight of Asteros, that is 6,000 every 4 seconds to a player without the XL Armor Link module, or 9,900-ish with the XL module. So, very cool. Once we get these fixed, we'll be able to use them on ourselves and repair ourselves while we tank a Sancha anomaly completely solo. But we're just waiting on one major fix, which is being able to repair ourselves. Right. Our defense here is starting at 5,538,000 EHP with almost a million armor hit points. It is an absolutely incredible ship. Like I said, this gets very, very, very close to a Lucent Moon. So let's undock here. We'll look at the stats of this ship to give you an idea of what it's capable of. We do have to go out toward a planet in order to use our... Oh, before we go... Oh, never mind. I guess I'm going. We'll check it on the way back. But anyway. So we're out here. With our standard modules active, we have 27,675. And that is with one Astero here, which we still cannot repair ourselves. So let me swap back over to the Manticore. Alright. Now, with the Manticore, I have 33,918. If I go ahead and activate our Swarm Carrier Defense, we're at 40,000 DPS with 7 million EHP, 90% on our EM, which is really, really nice. And that does go up to 95% when we're in the Sancho Anomaly. But you can see I'm still doing incredible DPS, but here's the kicker. If I activate this, and I activate all of my group modules, I can cycle these modules every 10 seconds. These group repair modules. Let's see if we can get that repair number pop up here. And with my XL armor link, we're gonna get 16,726 on two of my modules and 15,000 whatever on the third one. Cycling that every 10 seconds has been incredible. I just don't even know what I would do if we did not have that boost to from the armor link module. You can see there 9,800, 9,800, 9,300. That is without the XL armor link active. So it is very cool that we get a ship capable of healing a lot in like 30 seconds. I mean, we're talking about, for myself, if I have the group reps going, we are getting 49,000 armor rep in 15 seconds. And if we get the access to the... If we get access to the Asteros to use on ourselves, which should be next week, I believe in 30 seconds we can heal something around 284,000 armor rep in 30 seconds. Between the group reps, the XL being active, the Asteros repping us with the remote reps, which are also boosted. This ship is incredibly tanky, can be used as a Logi and a DPS, by having these group rep modules, and the armor link. So, the way I recommend to fit this ship is go tank like I do, even though I do over-tank a little bit. The next ship we're going to see, and actually I want to show something as we warp to Gina.
Autopilot engaged.
Something that I haven't mentioned yet. The range on these Repairman Capital Group armor reps on this exact ship gives it a 96-kilometer radius.
Warp drive
Notice
active.
I said radius. That means we have 192 kilometer diameter bubble. I want you to be just absolutely dumbfounded at how big this bubble is when we're looking at Gina. Right, I might have to go out some more. I'm not sure. We'll see here. So, to give you an idea, these guys are 96 kilometers away. So our bubble will extend out to them and out the other way. So here we go. You can see that giant green bubble. And we'll actually have this guy inside the bubble at 90 kilometers away from us. He would be receiving 9,000 armor rep. If that doesn't just scream insane logi, I don't know what does. Let's see. Here's the closest one. 102. Okay, that's not bad. But anyway, so that's a perfect example of this ship being capable of so much in a squad. You have so much room for players to move around the ship, and still receive armor repair from it. 96 kilometers you can be from the ship and receive armor rep. Alright, let us look at the last Telemachus. This is going to be the most expensive one. I forgot to show you guys the IP on the one Telemachus. Okay, give me a minute. Okay, we swapped over to the other Telemachus. This one has an insurance cost of 82,000 IP. This is the cheap Telemachus. This is that one, that's the salvager with the hanger one. So this is what is considered the cheap Telemachus. Now let me swap back to the main one. Alright, so this one, with hanger 3, is 128,000 IP. It's a darn good thing this ship has a lot of options for healing. Right. We do have one more Telemachus to go through. And that is going to be our most expensive Telemachus. Pretty much maxed out on everything. Right. So the player that owns this ship has, I believe, maximum skills for lightweight ships and everything capital oriented, or close to it. This ship has a very similar fit to mine, except for because he is a solo player, he is actually using the integrated auto salvager with the 2 repairmans. And he is running the cargo holds. This is a polycarbon engine housing. This is also a polycarbon engine housing, but 1 capital cargo hold 2. That gives him a warp time. For me, it's 15.14 seconds. For him, it is like 8 seconds. It's incredible. He also has the Assault Carrier Hangar Modification 4. Remember, I have level 3. Level 4 takes away both frigate bays and gives you 3 destroyer bays. Gives you a huge amount more damage, armor, all that. Very good. Also running the 3 bursts. Great choice. And he has chosen to go for a 2-3 setup. So these are augmented sky domes. And these are augmented allegiance. It gives him plenty capability to deal with small ships and fighters, as well as enough DPS to take out any high-set capital NPC that he comes across solo. So let us have a look. You'll notice we have 25,000 DPS cold in Hangar. I had 20,000. He also has 5.9 million EHP with almost 1 million of that as armor hit points.
Undocking. Warp drive active.
See just how quickly that gets to warp, even compared to my ship with 18 seconds. Looks like we've got a Telemachus friend here. Look at that. This is kind of like the Telemachus staging ground. We all come out here to look at our stats. Alright, let's turn these on. We are at 40,557. Then, why is that there? We can turn on the swarm, which puts us at 48,268 with 7,515,000. And then we can turn on the XL module. This will put us at 8,120,000. A very, very comfortable ship. Remember, we are also capable of receiving that 16,000 armor rep. So, very, very nice. Capable of hauling a lot of stuff. He does carry a lot of extra fuel around, but 6,000 cubic meters, very good.
Autopilot engaged.
Once again, you'll get a feel for just how powerful this ship kind of is. So, the downsides to this ship, like I said, no nanocore yet. No nanocore integration, because we have no nanocore. And there are some bugs in relation to the Asteros, which it is meant to be using anyway, as support for allies and itself. Although it doesn't need it, it's still bugged. Alright. Anyone want to guess the IP on this ship, the insurance points? Mine was at 128,000. This ship, 176,000 IP. Yes. But, I would say it's worth it. You can loot for yourself, you can heal yourself, you can keep yourself alive, you can heal others. It's an amazing ship. But, this is a ship that I would only recommend to those people who find themselves liking the lightweight Cyan, or the lightweight ship Lucent Moon, but they don't like the sort of slow mobility of it. The Lucent Moon is half the IP. This truly is a ship designed for the top players who want to invest every bit of ISK they have into a ship. You can do that with the Lucent Moon at half the cost. You're not going to have quite as good of results in terms of DPS, and the survivability is the same between the two. But the Telemachus is a little bit smoother. You don't have a huge amount of extra modules you have to buy, but everything is incredibly expensive. So you're going to pay that in IP cost, you're going to pay that in the ship cost. But that's the idea here. This ship is for the end game. Those people that just want to min-max to the point where they go blue in the face. Like, they want to min-max so much that holding their breath is more effective at killing the NPCs than breathing. So, I hope my coverage of all four high-tech capitals has given you an idea of where they stand, what they cost, what you're going to invest into each one, and kind of what to expect. My final thoughts after running every single one of these ships at different points of the year, at different metas, whether it be shield, fighter, lightweight ship, armor, meta. The Cyan is more than enough if you've got people to play with. It is the cheapest ship, and it has the most opportunities for upgrading and min-maxing. It's more comfortable to work with because it's at a lower cost. It really is the Cyan really is your sort of entry ship with opportunities into endgame. The Shanhai is for somebody who likes the Cyan, likes fighters, but just wants that little bit more, that little bit better capacitor, that sun chaser to get around a little bit quicker. The Shanhai is just... yeah, it'll be there eventually. The Shanghai is just that sweet upgrade. That icing on the cake. You don't need it. But you can definitely upgrade to it if you like the playstyle of the Cyan. Now, if you like capital carriers, but fighters just are missing something for you. Maybe you just feel like they're not quite fast enough, or they're not applying damage well enough. Or maybe you just want to get away from combat and become a Logi pilot. Maybe you want to do shield and armor. Go with the Lucent. Upgrade from the Cyan to a Lucent Moon. And play around with armor, shield, fighters, lightweight ships, Logi. Get a feel for it. It'll cost you a lot to try all of it, but it's the one ship that lets you do it all. It does come with a little bit of a price tag, but for the same cost as Shanhai, I'd much rather invest in a Lucent Moon. Now, the hard part comes with the Telemachus. The Lucent Moon and the Telemachus butt heads, like, all the time, with which one is the better ship. Right now, Lucent Moon is winning, because it has nanocores, it has flexibility, it has the option to fit how you want to do. But if you really want to be that absolute min-max monster, the Telemachus is going to be where it's at. Once it gets its nanocore, once it gets the Asteros for repping others, you cannot go wrong with a Telemachus. It is the ultimate high-sec ship. And that's just my opinion. Some people I know absolutely love the Lucent Moon. And they are absolutely right. But there's those of us that just don't want to look at a giant wall in their hangar. I mean, come on. It's the only shade I can throw at a Lucent Moon is the damn thing is a wall. You can't see anything. At least I can see my Telemachus. So, thank you all so much for joining me. I will send back all of these reference ships to the one who sent them to me. And I will see you all probably for Dormant Realm Monday. Take care, and be safe.